Andy Biggs represents a very, very Republican district. Trump won Andy Biggs' district by 20 points back in 2024. And so that means even in a year where Democrats might win, and I think they could very well win, a whole bunch of seats, whoever wins today's Republican primary in this particular district I'm about to talk about will likely go on to win the general election. So there was no reason for Donald Trump to really spend much political capital here or effort, right? But Trump, of course, decided he wanted to get involved in this race. And he decided to endorse this guy, who's the former Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb. That's his name, Mark Lamb. A MAGA diehard running with the campaign slogan, God, Family, Freedom. Yep, just in case you weren't sure what his campaign slogan is, they really put it out there for you. And I just want you to keep that slogan, God, Family, Freedom, in your mind as you learn a little bit more about this guy.
Former Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb is now facing sexual misconduct allegations.
Former Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb, now 5th District congressional candidate, is embroiled in a seedy sexting scandal.
Lamb engaged in racist and homophobic text exchanges and also sent inappropriate and threatening messages to women.
Only the finest over there they're nominating. So the God, Family, Freedom candidate Mark Lamb has spent the last few months embroiled in scandal after the Arizona Republic obtained what appeared to be illicit text and Facebook messages Mark Lamb sent to women who were not his wife. And I'm going to show you some of those messages. But before I do, I just want to warn my fellow parents out there that if you have small children in the room with you, this might be the moment to tell them to cover their ears. And if they can read, please cover their eyes too. And even for the adults out there, a warning, these alleged messages and this guy overall are ick, okay? But there was this message where an account appearing to belong to Mark Lamb tells a woman, quote, I would normally talk so much dirtier to you, but I don't trust Facebook or my phone. After the woman replies with more flirtatious banter, he sends her a pornographic screenshot that we cannot show you on air. Or there's this message where another account appearing to belong to Lamb tells a woman named Tammy, quote, I would love to see that video of you performing an explicit act I'm not going to say on television. Okay, it's just I'm not going to repeat it, but that's what was in the text. Followed by 2 smiley face emojis, 1 heart eyes emoji, and curiously, an American flag emoji. And I don't really know what that is all about, and I'm not going to try to explain it to you. Now, according to the Arizona Republic, the messages women say Lamb has shared with them include a close-up picture of a penis with an offer to measure it, a similar penis picture he showed off on his phone, a photo of an unidentified couple having intercourse with a text telling the recipient to think about that being you, punctuated with a devil emoji. This guy really likes emojis. And the questions about Mark Lamb's behavior go well beyond just his private life. I mean, at least one woman claims that then Sheriff Mark Lamb actually threatened to send the state police after her in order to stop her from going public with the sexual messages she says he sent. Lamb was even reportedly investigated by his own church over the allegations. Now, a spokesperson for Lamb's campaign told the New York Times that the allegations were, quote, lies and slanderous and come from long discredited individuals. Okay, then. Now, you would think that in 2026, this would be the kind of candidate, Mark Lamb, that national parties would want to distance themselves from. You would think they would want to use their influence to push him out of the race or at the very least endorse one of his primary opponents. But in the party Mark Lamb belongs to, a lurid sexting scandal gets you this.
Big news in the race for Congress. President Trump endorses Sheriff Mark Lamb. Trump says Mark strongly supports our incredible law enforcement. Trump gave Mark Lamb his complete and total endorsement.
My complete and total endorsement.
Trump has not backed away from Mark Lamb at all, in case you were wondering. In fact, Trump recently reiterated his endorsement of Lamb more than a month after Lamb's sexting scandal became public. And this is not just some one-off for the Republican Party right now. I mean, Republicans have rallied around a number of candidates with allegations ranging from inappropriate to downright freaking dark. I mean, there's Trump-backed Ohio Congressman Max Miller, who's currently facing serious allegations of domestic violence from his ex-wife, who happens to be the daughter of Ohio's Republican Senator Bernie Moreno. This week, Mother Jones obtained records from a lawsuit Miller is facing over the allegations. And at one point, Miller's ex-wife told investigators that she recalled her daughter saying, quote, "Daddy's house is scary." Just last week, Miller was hit with another lawsuit related to another allegation of domestic abuse from another woman. That domestic violence allegation comes from former Trump press secretary Stephanie Grisham, who briefly dated Miller. Congressman Miller has denied ever committing violence against women, and specifically against his ex-wife and Grisham. But with multiple allegations from multiple Republican women, you would think that the Republicans would consider whether they really want Max Miller representing them this November. Don't hold your breath on that one. Then there's Trump-backed Florida Congressman Corey Mills, who's also seeking re-election this year. He's facing allegations of dating violence from an ex-girlfriend, as well as a number of other allegations over campaign finance violations, accepting improper gifts, financial disclosure violations, and misusing congressional resources. Allegations he strenuously denies. But today, MS Now was first to report that Corey Mills is now facing a criminal investigation from the Department of Justice. Yes, this Department of Justice. And that's according to two sources familiar with the matter. We don't know what the Justice Department is investigating Mills for, but we do know that at least as of this hour, Donald Trump has not withdrawn his endorsement of the man his own Justice Department is investigating. And it's not just Trump who's reluctant to drop these guys. I mean, here was House Speaker Mike Johnson when asked about House ethics investigations into both Mills and Miller just earlier today.
Two members of the conference, Max Miller and Corey Mills, face domestic violence allegations. Why would you Republicans keep them in the conference, whereas Democrats are dropping somebody accused of criminally accused of sexual harassment?
Well, the key word there is allegation. We have a process here. The House Ethics Committee works on those things. If allegations are made, they work through a process. So I'm not in the business of commenting on investigations as they're in process, and we'll see how that shakes out. That's how this always works. And by the way, it's done for R's and D's on both sides of the aisle.
Is that the way it's done on both sides of the aisle, Mike Johnson? Is it really? It's not. Because as that reporter just pointed out to him, it seems like Democrats handle these issues quite differently from Republicans these days. And whether it is allegations of sexting, infidelity, or full-blown domestic violence, the Trump-era Republican Party has shown a real willingness to not just look the other way, but to really embrace some of these people. Joining me now are two great campaign brands. Jim Messina ran Barack Obama's re-election campaign in 2012 and is now the CEO of the Messina Group. And Chuck Roscher, president of Solidarity Strategies, was a senior advisor to Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign and is currently a senior advisor to Democratic Senate candidate James Talarico. You've also worked in Arizona. I can't do your whole bios, but just so people know. Let me start with you, Jim. It feels political scandals are not new, I should say, right? They have occurred for decades. It feels like we are hitting, though, a new high of these lows, right? And it has started to become the mantra of the Republican Party, almost that they are becoming minis of the guy that they are modeling themselves after. What do Democrats do with that, though?
Well, first of all, it's a tale of two parties, right? Because as you've said, Democrats, this is the end of your political career. Eric Swalwell in California, allegations gone. In Maine, Graham Plattner dropped out of the race. This is the way the Democratic Party handled it. The Republican Party handles it very, very differently. You just had that amazing montage of all these people, and the Republicans don't care about it. And why don't they care about it, Jen? Because they've decided the only issue that matters in the modern Republican Party is loyalty to Donald Trump. He says it in his own endorsement tweets. He's like, he will be a loyal member of the caucus for me. Loyalty is the only thing the president understands. So you can commit crimes, you can do all this. In fact, all it gets you is a re-endorsement to help you get through the scandal. That is what Donald Trump has remade the modern Republican Party into. It's now MAGA. It is now his party. And so it's no surprise that these candidates would start to imitate him, that would start to do his behavior, and they get rewarded for it. They get to go back to Congress for it. And meanwhile, you have Speaker Johnson, who doesn't seem to care at all who's in his caucus as long as they vote him for Speaker.
I mean, some of them, when they're asked questions about these allegations, they say, well, Donald Trump has endorsed me, as if the endorsement of Donald Trump is some sort of morality approval or something, which is so crazy. I wish more people would call that out.